The Epstein operation, a financial network of shadow power. When Jeffrey Epstein was arrested in 2019 on charges of sex trafficking, the headlines were dominated by sordid tales of underage victims and elite parties. But beneath the scandal was a more obscure and far-reaching story, one that pointed to an international laundering network, a covert financial operation intertwined with global intelligence services, and a system designed to siphon, sanitize, and reroute billions of dollars without oversight or accountability. A financial web behind the facade. Epstein's identity as a hedge fund manager was always questionable. Despite flaunting a billionaire lifestyle, his financial records showed no known large-scale investments, no fund clients beyond Leslie Wexner, and no public activity in the markets that justified his wealth. His real function, according to various intelligence sources and investigative leads, may have been that of a financial courier, operating between shadow networks, moving stolen or black money into safe jurisdictions under the guise of legitimate investments. Epstein's world intersected with intelligence, politics, and finance. The allegations now gaining traction suggest that his private empire was the storefront for a covert money laundering apparatus designed not merely for personal enrichment, but to serve a deeper agenda, funneling vast sums of money, often looted, or fraudulently obtained, from the banking world back into a system immune from regulation and prosecution. Mossad, money, and immunity central to this apparatus was the role of Israeli intelligence, specifically Mossad. Epstein's close relationship with former Israeli Prime Minister Ehud Barak, who appeared frequently in his social and business orbit, has raised long-standing suspicions that Epstein functioned as a cutout for Mossad-linked financial operations. According to some whistleblowers and analysts, Barak acted on behalf of more entrenched financial dynasties, notably the Rothschild network, facilitating the laundering of funds into Israeli institutions and foreign investments. Once funds crossed into Israeli territory, particularly through banks or trusts with intelligence ties, they entered what can only be described as a legal black hole. Israel is under no obligation to cooperate with international judicial or financial transparency. Requests when national security is invoked, which, in practice, shields nearly any operation tied to its intelligence services. This de facto immunity allows for complete opacity. Once the money lands, it vanishes. The Robert Maxwell blueprint. This model is not new. It closely resembles the financial architecture pioneered by Robert Maxwell, the disgraced British media tycoon and father of Ghislaine Maxwell, Epstein's closest associate. In the late 1980s, Maxwell stole hundreds of millions of pounds from the Mirror Group's pension funds and funneled them into Israeli-linked accounts and shell companies. He acted as a high-level asset of Israeli intelligence, and when his activities became exposed, he died under mysterious circumstances in 1991, falling from his yacht, the Lady Ghislaine. Maxwell's embezzlement involved the creation of fake companies, offshore trusts, and layered transactions, exactly the kind of machinery that reappeared in Epstein's financial network decades later. Foundations, charitable organizations, and tax-exempt NGOs became ideal vehicles for disguising bribes, laundering funds, and redistributing stolen money to strategic recipients across the globe. The Clinton Foundation. Echoes of the same model after Epstein's rise, the same laundering strategies were mirrored in powerful political circles. The Clinton Foundation, for instance, has long been accused of functioning as a pay-to-play apparatus. Major donations, often routed through foreign governments, corporations, or anonymous trusts, were exchanged for political favors, access, and influence. These kinds of foundations, legally opaque, globally connected, and politically insulated, allowed illicit money to be sanitized, stored, and redistributed under the umbrella of charity. Epstein's connections to the Clintons are well documented, with flight logs showing dozens of trips aboard his private jet and photographs surfacing from social events. If Epstein was a node in a larger financial intelligence web, then foundations like the Clintons may have served as the landing pads for the cleaned funds, untouchable, tax-free, and invisible. The Madoff parallel and the 2008 black. Whole Bernard Madoff's unprecedented $65 billion Ponzi scheme, left unchecked for years despite warnings, also fits this pattern. His dealings were so deeply embedded in institutional finance that prosecution was contained, damage was limited, and the inner circle largely protected. Some analysts argue Madoff's operation may have served as another funnel, absorbing excess capital from international sources and rerouting it to protected destinations, including Israeli banks and strategic recipients. The 2008 financial crisis amplified these concerns. When institutions like Lehman Brothers collapsed, the immediate government response under President Obama was not to investigate, but to bail out and silence. Not a single top executive went to jail. No meaningful inquiry followed the vanished billions. The story was closed quickly, as if by design. The untouchables, the Epstein affair, the Madoff scheme, the Clinton Foundation's shadowy dealings, and the 2008 collapse all share a haunting similarity. Massive flows of unaccounted-for money, a clear trail leading to political elites, and a systemic refusal to prosecute or even investigate the top layers. At the center of this architecture lies a hard truth. Global finance has been weaponized, not simply to enrich the few, but to sustain operations that function above the law, outside democratic control, and shielded by intelligence agencies with unlimited discretion. Israel, in particular, has become a favored endpoint for these funds, not just for the security it offers intelligence-linked accounts, but for the legal impunity guaranteed under its national interest doctrines. Jeffrey Epstein may have been a predator. But more importantly, he was a courier, part of a transnational machine for laundering not only money, but the crimes of those too powerful to indict.